So a lot of people actually praise your mic skills. Is this something obviously you've really been working on?
Do you know what? I wouldn't say so, no, because I know a lot of people they get set on a character in wrestling, and don't get me wrong, I do, but I think a lot of the things I do on the mic, it's just me, which sounds very cliche, but it is. I think naturally, outside of wrestling, I'm a very witty person, but also I'm somebody that cannot let somebody else have the last word, which goes completely against me outside of wrestling. But in wrestling, it works like wonders. Like I'm the type of person I'll stand and argue with a child for half an hour. Like I don't care, but that's where it comes from. It's just the way I am, unfortunately.
On today's show, we're talking to Adam Bolt. We've got loads to obviously talk about. I'm so excited for this. But first, intern, roll the intro. Wait, hold on. Did you just say you'd argue with a child for half an hour?
Oh yeah, I do that all the time. I did it this weekend. They just do my head in the nicest way possible because I've got nephews and nieces and I'll do the same at home. Like I just can't. You've got to teach them while they're young. You know, they can't always have the last word. I say while I'm literally doing the opposite. But, yeah, I just get enjoyment out of it. Like I just love it. Don't know why. Get a kick out of it. Sounds like I'm a bully, doesn't it? Like I'm not, but yeah, I love it.
Adam, it's obviously great to talk to you, mate. We're only on Monday, but how's the day going so far for you?
It's all right, actually. I'm pretty chilled. I've just booked like 11 days off of my other job to just chill. So I'm winning for WrestleMania weekend as well. So I've got the Monday off after WrestleMania, which is a great thing because it just means I can just chill, stay up all night, all that stuff. But yeah, good. How are you?
I'm very well, mate. Obviously, I've been looking forward to this one because obviously I've seen a lot of your work we'll get into, so I'm super excited for this. So yeah, I said this before we came on the air. If there's anything I ask which you don't feel comfortable talking about, you just say next question, we move on. But a lot of people are open books, but I've just got to be careful.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I get it. It's all right.
Not a problem. So we'll start obviously at the beginning. You've been wrestling, I think it was 5 years when I looked up. Talk about getting into wrestling.
Getting into it frustrates me a bit because I've wanted to do it since I was like 3. I've said a lot of times it's the earliest memory I've got of like life itself is wrestling. I can just remember seeing this wrestling show on TV when I was sat with my dad, which now looking back I know was WrestleMania 14, and that was 98. So I must have been about between 2 and 3, which is insane. I can't remember anything from being obviously that young, like most people can't. But from then, I always just wanted to do it through school. I wanted to do it, didn't have the courage to admit it because obviously people don't get wrestling unless they get wrestling, if you know what I mean. And then my mates went off to uni. I was getting to like 18, 19. I was just like, I really want to do it. But I just kept telling myself like next weekend. And I didn't realize at the time, but this went on for like 2 or 3 years. It wasn't until I was 22 that I actually went. And I just was like, it's all new to me, just like walking in somewhere where I don't know anybody. It's like first day of school. So I went, and then obviously looking back now, I wish I'd have just done that when I was 12, 13, 14, whatever. But here we are.
When you were younger, do you remember obviously the wrestlers obviously you grew up watching, name-wise?
Yeah, the one that stuck out to me from the start was Shawn Michaels, which was weird because obviously as a kid I didn't follow it every week, so I was confused as to why he was there the first time I watched it and I never saw him. Turns out obviously with the back injury he was out for like 4 years, but yeah, he stuck out to me. Obviously I grew up at a time when I was really young of like, you know, when there was like Triple H, The Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker, Kane, so I loved all of them. It was just, I think a lot of Shawn Michaels, even though I've always said that he was my favourite, a lot of what he did back then is mirrored in what I do now in some way, like the charisma, the showmanship, like the flamboyance of it. Like I didn't even make that connection until someone pointed it out to me. I've spoke about it before on podcasts and stuff, and it wasn't until somebody said, well, you kind of like him. I'm like, well, I'm not. Until someone put it to me and I was like, oh yeah, fair point. Okay, I see it now.
That's brilliant. So, two promotions obviously I want to point out is the one is obviously True Grit. Now, you was at not the last True Grit show, the one before it, which is this match right here, Elias Parker versus Adam Bolt versus Jay Vertigo. And the reason obviously I bring this match up in particular is because I was there in person.
Oh, I feel sorry for you, for me.
Dear. But yeah, talk about obviously with this match working with obviously Jay, who obviously interviewed. I'm not familiar obviously with Ellis.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk about obviously working with you two.
So going into it, because I'm one of these people, I say it a lot, and it's no disrespect to anybody. I always want more than to just put on a match where there's just high flying stuff going off. Like, I'm very story driven, and I do it from being a fan of wrestling myself. Like, when I'm watching wrestling, like, I love matches with like cruiserweights and stuff like that. I love it, but you can't say it's not just that bit better when there's like a lot of character there as well. Like, it's something to like latch onto as well. So obviously going into it, I was excited because I know both of them are very good at what they do. Both of them have a similar style to me, and then I knew that I could bring something different as well. And obviously it's where the character comes in. So me being me compared to them two, it wasn't your generic like, oh, we've got three high flyers, let's just have a triple threat and do high spots. It was like there was some character, and we had fun with it as well. Like I was my usual self. I don't need to tell you what that's like, but no, it was really fun. Like, we had a lot of fun. We worked well together, and I feel like I obviously I would love to work with him again. It was, especially with being True Grit, I think it was the first time. Correct me if I'm wrong if it's not there too, but I think it was the first time all three of us had properly been on a True Grit show together. I know I've done the tapings before, but it was the first time it was like we all had the same thing to prove. We wanted to come back, so we were all there to put on a show. And judging by the feedback, I think we did pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of my friends and obviously my sister as well were obviously talking about, hey, that Adam Bolt guy's quite good. So yeah, well played.
Must have been the gear I wore. Always wins them over.
And obviously the other one you're obviously involved in is Wrestling in Newcastle. Now, we don't really talk about that show much. So you've been involved in all the shows. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I think I wasn't on the second one. I think they've done 4, and I've been on 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they've been on 3. They've done 4. The 5th one is coming up in May, but I've done 3 of them.
So obviously this is the new promotion. What's that like working for someone obviously who's not I won't say well proven, but obviously new?
So I obviously, as anybody does with any promotion, I didn't know what to expect, especially when it's new. I mean, when it's not new and you've not been there, you can ask people, what the crowd's like, what it's like backstage. But going up there, I've not really wrestled in the north, like that far north, on a regular basis, certainly, like ever. So going into it, I was a bit skeptical, but looking forward to it because it's like everyone's starting point. And I knew I had the opening match as well, so I was like, oh, this is great. But obviously there's a pressure there because you don't know what the crowd's going to be like. So I'm like, I might come out, they might not care at all. But getting there, I realized very fast, like, it's one of them promotions which it's hard to get. It's not just like the crowd are great, despite what I call them when I'm there. The crowd are great. Like, the talent we've got there are just generally all around nice people. Like, there's a lot of like people that live locally. There's a lot of people that I'm familiar with that I go up with. But the backstage and like the management, the crew, all of them, like, it's just one of them places where it feels good to be there because everything's right, and I feel like they're onto something really good. Like, the shows have sold out, every single one. It's the crew, like I said, like, there's not one negative or anything about it, and it's just like every time I know it's coming up, it's like something to look forward to. It doesn't feel like, oh, I've got this one. It's like I actually am excited for it, and they've done a lot for me as well. I get a lot of good opportunities with them as well. Like, I've got Wrestling BT Gun on the 4th of May, which is big for me. So
do you mean this one?
That's the one. Just like that one in there. Yeah, so it's great. I think they're on something good, and if the 5 shows in and they're doing this well, then in a year, 2 year, it's just going to get better.
Absolutely. And I'm actually looking forward to this because this is the first time I'm going to obviously Wrestling in Newcastle, so I get to see you again.
Oh, what a pleasure. Pleasure is all yours.
Yeah, definitely. So, obviously, the one thing I want to talk about as I was doing obviously research is intergender wrestling. Now, a lot of people don't like this. I like it, and the match I obviously saw was you and well, Big Man Inc. Obviously, you and Ivy and ZZ. What's it like?
Yeah.
Obviously, intergender wrestling. Get a little insight.
So I'm very, very on one side of this, and I am a massive advocate for the fact that not only is it great, but we need more of it, a ton of it. In fact, like it's not a coincidence that I've had. Obviously, I've had matches, you know, where we've had like other genders, like females involved and things like that. But in terms of my two biggest intergender matches, would have been me and Jackie T against ZZ and Ivy, but the other one was at Spirit Pro Wrestling in Sheffield a couple of years ago, and that was against Alexis Falcon. Two of which are both my favorite matches, and it's not by coincidence either. Like it's weird because you get this different dynamic with it all the time, and it's not just the dynamic. And this is what I want people to get. It's not just the dynamic of male versus female. Because it's, for example, there was at the first Spirit show, you had Alexis Falcon versus Brady Phillips. Completely different dynamic. Brady Phillips is built like a house. And Alexis Falcon, obviously, she's a powerhouse in her own right. But then when you take Alexis Falcon out of that match and put in a match with me, it's like we're both similar height. I'm a high flyer. It's like a completely different dynamic. It breaks away from just male and female. It's like there's so much more we can do. And I feel like there's money to be made there as well. And I wish more promoters would get hold of it and like try and drive it home because it's so entertaining to watch. I've watched it. I've done it. Aside from the fact I nearly broke my neck with Alexis Falcon. But it's fun. Like I wouldn't change it. I just want to do more of it, to be honest.
No, absolutely. I think that's absolutely a great response to that because I've always wanted to ask somebody that. And obviously, knowing the fact you've been in them type of matches, this is obviously a perfect opportunity. So thank you for that.
No,
so you just mentioned Big Man Inc. So obviously, talk about obviously teaming with this guy because he's a good talent as well, like yourself.
Yes. Oh, do you know what? He'd hate me for saying it, but like I do love him. Like it started when we was in lockdown, and I kind of realized I was in like focus mode the whole time because I didn't want to just let it slip. Like I wanted to make sure that despite us not being able to do much in lockdown, coming out of it, I wanted to be to evolve like tenfold compared to what I was. And I knew I wanted to express. I say become Adam Ball. I mean, I was always me. It's just I wanted to express it more and have more freedom with it, which I've got now. Hence, I'm the way I am. But I had this idea for having like my own security, and I was like, and Jackie T obviously was very up for it. He was like, "Yep, let's do it." But somewhere along that, it was like I realized that nobody else could have fit that. There's people that I could do it with and it would work, but it's not a coincidence. Me and Jack are the best of mates outside of wrestling. We talk every day, personal stuff. We go to each other. We spend time with each other away from wrestling, and just whether it's chilling and watching wrestling, we'll have Nando's together. Like we're like inseparable, and that I think plays into why it works so well because we just bounce off each other. It's like somebody drops a comment about a tag match we had this weekend actually, and we just got in the ring, and it's like we've not spoke about it before, and we just hit like tag moves without saying what we're gonna do. It's like we know each other so well, and I just feel like with the work he's putting in at the minute, I want more people to catch on to him because me going to like I do my own thing, don't get me wrong, and so does he. But me going to these places like Wrestling in Newcastle, like True Grit, I know what I do can only be enhanced by having him there, and he does work hard. He works really hard. So yeah, I just want to see him keep doing well. To be honest, like he deserves it.
Absolutely. So I ask a lot of people this, and obviously I'm going to ask you the same question: is the UK wrestling scene? What's your obviously overall opinion of the scene as a whole?
Oh, as the scene as on a whole, in terms of the talent, I think it's probably better than it's ever been. We lose people, we gain people all the time for different reasons. People get signed, people move, people quit. But in terms of like the passion there, I think it's the best it's ever been. In terms of, I just wish, and I know a lot of people try and do it. I just wish there were more promotions or promoters willing to take a chance on people that they haven't already seen. Because there's people that are absolutely smashing it, and rightfully so. They're in the positions they are, but there's also people I know full well that haven't had that opportunities yet that I know could deliver on them if they were given it. I just think that's all we need. Just a bit of a push for some people to, for example, ZZ is a good example, right? So ZZ 2 years ago, I can't remember how long ZZ's been wrestling, but ZZ is good at what she does. And then when one person's giving her an opportunity to perform against people, you know, like with Ivy or with any of the women at True Grit or any of the promotions she's been to, she's delivered. And now people are actively wanting to book her because of how good she is. And it's like that same applies to plenty of other females, plenty of other males, like anybody. In fact, like there's just so many people. I just think on a whole, the talent and passion's there, great, but it's not just shared by the people that are out there smashing it. There are people ready to step up as well. They just need the right platform to do it.
This is kind of interesting because I've 3 interviews in a row, and the one name which always crops up is ZZ. Do you know what I mean? I've seen her wrestle. She's absolutely terrific. I think she probably is the one to watch. So I'm so glad you mentioned her.
There is another one as well that I will put out there, another female. And obviously ZZ, I have a bit of a relationship with. Like me and ZZ are good friends. Melissa Fierce. If you've not seen or heard from Melissa Fierce, I don't know what it is, but I first watched her in a match from the crowd, and I was taken back because I feel like for what she does, there's such a gap in the market for it. We've got like, and it's not taken away from anybody in British wrestling, especially on the women's side. There's a lot of powerhouses, there's the brawlers, there's everything. She brings that element to women's wrestling to which, if I was a woman, I would want to bring, which is the high flying stuff. Like, and if you think about it, in the UK, there's a real gap in the market for that. Like, she can fly like very well, and I feel like you match Melissa Fierce up with any of the women you know are out on the scene smashing it, and you've got that clash of styles again, what I mentioned earlier with intergender wrestling, like the different dynamics, rather than it just be, oh, it's a women's match, or oh, it's an intergender match. Like, there's more diversity within it. But she's another one definitely that I would keep an eye on, because if she's great now, then in a couple of years, then she's just going to get better.
Yeah, I know she does obviously a lot of work for Mega Slam Wrestling,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. I've seen clips of them doing that as well. I'm jealous, by the way, actually, because one of my moves I like to hit is just like a jumping Hurricane Rana, and I've watched her do one from the second rope, and how smooth it is. I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's like so smooth as well. Like, I want to wrestle at this point, so yeah.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So, being a wrestler like you are, do you get time to obviously sit back and watch it as a fan?
So it's interesting you ask that. I try to, because, like, obviously I still enjoy it, and what I try to do is, because nothing, and I will tell you this, nothing drives me insane more than watching wrestling with a room full of wrestlers. It's like it's become something that I can't stand. Like, I'm like, oh. So we went away for a weekend a few weeks ago. It was a few months ago when I think it was Crown Jewel was on.
Mm-hmm.
In November. Oh, it's near my birthday, so yeah, November. And we tried watching wrestling in a room full of people. All these people are close friends, by the way. Could not fault them. But watching wrestling in a room full of wrestlers, it becomes like sometimes people like to just critique and say like, oh, I don't think we should have done that. And I'm just like, can we just watch it? Can we just watch the wrestling show and enjoy it as a fan? Because believe me, in a couple of weeks when I'm sat at home and I've booked time off to watch WrestleMania, I'm going to be sat there with my nephew and I'm just going to be watching it as if like I'm still that 4-year-old kid. Like, I just want to enjoy it, because I feel like when you get into the head of critiquing and always watching as like a critic or a wrestler, it's easy to like lose a passion for it because you've got nothing to enjoy anymore. So yeah, I just try and watch it as a fan and step out of Adam Bolt and for like a second and just enjoy it.
Do you think fans sometimes can be too critical, being a wrestler yourself?
It's hard, because I feel like there's a big contrast between what used to be socially acceptable to what is now. I feel like you've got to be a lot more careful with what you say these days, definitely. I'm just one of them people where I feel like it comes down to, unless your opinion's being asked, or unless, especially online, like, shout the positives all you want, but do we really need to go online and say how we don't enjoy somebody? Like, we are human at the end of the day. Like, we do it for fans. So if fans don't like, I know a lot of people don't like me. Half of the Geordies don't like me. They hate me, which is good. Great. Means I'm doing something right. But if they were to go online and like personally attack me and start going about like appearance, do you know, things that you see get said, it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I feel like they almost forget like there's like two sides of it. People feeling they're untouchable because they're online, then people thinking like, whether it's people in public eye, people that are a lot more famous, like celebrities, like anything that gets said, it's like fair game, because, well, it doesn't matter anyway. Like, it does. Of course it does. People still see it. We still read it. And people like being human, like anybody does. People have anxiety. People suffer with, like confidence and everything. Like, it takes a lot to walk out, and I forget it because I'm not used to doing it, but it takes a lot to get out and perform in front of a crowd. It does. Like, if I told myself I was going to do that at 13, I'd have told myself I was stupid. But now it's happening, and I wouldn't change it. But I don't personally find it hard, but that doesn't mean other people don't. And it can be hard. Yeah, I feel like people just need to be just more careful about what they say. Like, you know, if your opinion's asked and it's not the greatest, like, fair enough, give it, but just watch what you say and how it's put across, I think.
No, I think that's absolutely well said. And I feel like social media is obviously a big part of that. Do you know what I mean? You mentioned it there. People just go on social media and just like feel like, oh, they can put whatever they want, and it just doesn't, and that's it.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but then again, it's the same across everything, every sport, everything. Like, people, a lot of time, what I will say is wrestling fans get a lot of stick for being toxic. In terms of the bigger companies, they are. The stuff I read, I'm like, oh my God, shut up. But in terms of like wrestling fans as a whole, they do get a lot of hate for doing what essentially a lot of people do. Like, people do it with music they like, people do it with films they don't like, people do it with celebrities they don't like. So it's not just wrestling fans, it's just across the board. People just need to be better, I think.
No, I think that's absolutely terrific. So I was looking through obviously cage match, and a couple of opponents you've obviously faced, which really stuck out for me. Is one is Jack Bandicoot. Talk about obviously working with him.
Yeah, I like Jack. So it's just so fun to be around as well. Like, in the ring, I've there was a promotion running for like a couple of months last year, I think the year before, Shooting Star Pro in like the Rotherham area. I worked a tag match with Crossbow, and it was against me and Jack. We had fun with that, and then obviously I wrestled him at Wrestling Newcastle as well. It's just fun. I feel like he's one of them people where his style works well with mine because he does a lot of high flying stuff, but he's such a character as well. So again, going back to what I said earlier, like, it's one thing to have a match with a high flyer or anything like that. It's another when you've got a character to work off, because my character when I'm heel against his character when he's face, it's like it it just works so well. I just feel like I wish we had more time. I think we did about 10 minutes in the opening match, but yeah, I wouldn't take him off the list of somebody I want to wrestle, because I feel like if I had a good 15-20 minutes with Jack, whether it's tag or singles, I feel like there's more we could do, definitely.
And the other one which caught my eye is obviously Man Like Darius. Obviously, he's a very popular guy.
Man like Darius, yeah. Do you know what? I've crossed paths with Darius a lot. I think the first time was at Wrestle Carnival, sorry, not Wrestling Newcastle. Wrestle Carnival, in a four-way with Danny Black and Joe Lando. That was the first time I'd crossed paths with Darius, I think. But I have seen him at Elevation. I've been involved with a few multi-man matches here with him. Again, somebody that's just fun to be around, isn't it? And again, going back to that whole character thing, like, he can do a bit of everything. He's a powerhouse. He's a high flyer. He's a showman. He's got charisma. Like, it's not a coincidence he's where he is. I mean, he's basically hitting out of the park in every single aspect. So yeah, it's just someone else fun to be around. I love working with Darius. So I mean, it's a laugh from start to finish, and like, it's never disappointing either. Like, we always do like some good stuff together. So yeah, I do want a one-on-one with him though, especially now, because like since I've worked with him, like, he's only got better and better. So like, now I feel like I'm ready for it. I do want to meet Darius again at some point.
There you go. So this next question catches a lot of people out, and it makes people think, what do fans not know about Adam Bolt? So this can be from a wrestler side or the person side.
Do you know what? One thing comes to mind, and I don't know why. It comes to mind because everybody, when they hear it, judges me. All my friends know it, but I cannot stand, and I hate pizza. It's disgusting. It's awful. Like, the smell of it makes me gip. And people say, people like, oh, how can you not like pizza? I'm like, well, I'd say the same about liking you, but I do. So, you know, like, I just don't like pizza. I hate it. Like, my family will order it and it just stinks. And my dad will say to me, why don't you try it? I'm like, well, would you try something that physically makes you sick when you smell it? I'm like, no. I'm not gonna hold my nose to eat something. I just hate it. I hate it. And it's not just pizza, it's like every type of pizza. But everything that goes into a pizza I like. So I don't know. Don't know what it is.
There we go. We're 24 minutes in, and we just found out Adam Bolt don't like pizza.
And this is where we go back to when people hate online, if people do want to hate me for this, I do get it because everyone gives it me. So I'll be getting tweets about not liking pizza now.
Oh, dear. So you've obviously 5 years obviously into your career. What companies would you obviously stick out where you'd like to obviously work for in the UK?
So there's a lot of companies that are like a lot of companies that I want to work for. One that I am looking at, just because it's like the Northwest scene, is I am looking to start getting to Future Shock for some training, because I just want to, like, I'm not gonna lie, it's because of a lot of people that are there. But the Northwest scene, especially, I feel like in terms of promotions, I've been to TNT. I got a taste for that. Loved that. Like, I think now I'm just aiming for like some. I want to work anywhere and everywhere. Don't get me wrong, but I really want to get my foot in the door at some of these like bigger, more produced shows, because I feel like I'm ready for it. I do. People might sit there and laugh and think, huh, yeah, sure, but like I know I am, because I'm just one of these people. I've noticed that every time I'm under pressure, whether it's from a debut, whether it's from like a bigger show. Like when I did TNT, for example, I didn't know I was doing it until like 7 days before. So the pressure, and it was the first time I'd gone to a show without like any of my friends. Like there was no Ivy, there was no Jackie T, there was no Brady Phillips, there was none of that. So it was like I got there and I was just like, whew. And every time I do it, I seem to perform at obviously a very good level. So I feel like I'm ready for it. I just want, like I said earlier, about people getting the opportunities. I'm one of them. I just feel like I'm ready for it, and given the opportunity, I feel like I'd more than deliver. That's what I want mainly, just more to be actively there as well. I don't want these one-off appearances at like bigger shows. I want to be somebody that can be relied on, to be at Rev Pro, to be in Progress, TNT, anywhere really. So yeah, the big shows, as big as
So
you could. Yeah.
So you mentioned nerves, and somebody obviously on Instagram sent a question in. It says, "How do you deal with nerves on stepping into the ring for the first time?" So,
Oof. Do you know what? It's been so long. I feel like it's hard to answer that for me, because when I first stepped into the ring, I can't recall it that well. For my first show, but all I can do is compare it to when it's like a big situation. I feel like a lot of the nerves naturally go away. For me, the biggest set of nerves is going training for the first time. That is awful. But once you get into it, you obviously, if you're at a training school, you start going to their shows way before you're on it. You become comfortable with it, and there's like that level of comfortability makes the first show day nerves easier. But then again, it depends what you're doing on that first show. You know, some people I've seen not be nervous at all, because although it's the first show, they've practiced behind the scenes, they've got a character there, they know how to work a crowd, and then they're not doing a ton, doing hidden within a multi-man match. So it's hard to say. I dealing with nerves, in terms of being, it depends what you're nervous about as well. Like I get nervous to deliver. Like I don't want people to think like, oh, he's good. I want people to think, oh, he's better than what I thought he was, or anything that's above the average, if you know what I mean. I don't. I wish I had the answer to that question as well, because I don't really know how to deal with it. It's just like it just happens. It happens, but and then as soon as you walk out through the curtain, it like goes from nerves to adrenaline, and then it's forgotten about, and then it's more the build up to it is worse than, like, I've never been nervous in the ring, never gone out and been nervous. It's always before. As soon as I'm out there, it's gone. So I don't actually know how to answer that question. I wish someone had.
that's fine. Would you say you're your own worst critic in a way?
Yeah, I can be. It's not through like, I don't look at my own stuff and think, oh, this was terrible or anything like that. I'm not that negative. I try and look for the positives in stuff. But I think for me, it's just more when I know I'm better than what I've just done, or I know and it's not through cockiness or anything like that. It's just through wanting to be one of the best and be confident in what I'm doing. Like I just want to be exactly that. I just want to be one of the best, and I want to keep getting there. And I feel like anything that slows me down from that, even if it is just one odd match where something hasn't clicked well or gelled well, like I'm definitely my worst critic. I'm one of them people that people are like, "Oh, shut up! Like whatever you did was like great," and I'm like, "No," and I'll watch it back and I'll be like, but there's actually nothing wrong with it. Like, yeah, I definitely am.
Dear. So the other question which a fan sent in, it says, if you could face anybody in the British wrestling scene at the moment, who would you choose, and what would the match stipulation be?
Oh, see, I'm gonna say two, because one I've wrestled before, but I feel like for reasons I don't want to talk about in case
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm overdue a match with Brady Phillips because obviously everybody knows we have relationships outside of wrestling, but as somebody who helped me a lot from the start when I was a bit lost in terms of like I was at a training school, but I wasn't getting wasn't getting out there much, and he started teaching me more like wrestling and like different things that applied to like out there on the scene and not in this bubble of a training school. So I was like, and since then we've crossed paths, we've had tag matches, we've had the odd one-on-one match, but I feel like now that I'm the best me I have been, and obviously he's Brady Phillips, I feel like if I just had a one-on-one solid match with Brady, like it'd be like a bit of a full circle thing for me. But the other one is Lizzie Evo, and which goes back to the intergender wrestling. Like I look at all the talent across the UK, like whether it's like any gender whatsoever, and if there's one person that I love watching, that is a great person that I want to work with more than anything, it's Lizzie. Like she's forgetting male or female or whatever. Like if you take gender completely out of it, you just look at wrestlers. One of the best in the country, easily by a country mile. And I just think if you want to be one of the best, you need to work with the best, and it don't get much better than Lizzie at the minute. So yeah, I'd probably regret it when she punched me, but like yeah, Lizzie Evo definitely. Like I really want to work with Lizzie at some point.
Awesome. So a few little more questions we begin to wind down. Why should fans who are obviously not familiar with your work go check out Adam Bolt?
I would say, without insulting myself, because like I do try and bring something different. Like I said, like I love the storytelling side of it. I love the character based stuff. It's what I grew up with. When like for example WWE was at its best when it had all the characters in like the early 2000s, things like that. So if you like high flying stuff, like the athletic side of wrestling, the like almost like the high flying stuff, I try and mesh that with having a character as well. And I feel like if you're watching something that's impressive to watch, but and then also entertained by what you're hearing and what you're seeing as well, like that's very much what I believe you'll get with me. If you're disappointed, there's no refund. Sorry, but yeah, like character, like in ring, like I just try and deliver on it. Like what I said about Dries, I try and deliver on everything. Like I do try and give everyone a bit of something they can enjoy, whether I'm face, heel, whatever. So, and I look good. Can't forget to stop that one. I will always make an effort for a show, and that's not just being out there. That I will turn up dressed like I'm going to a movie premiere. Like, trust me.
Oh dear. So one final question. So one final question. You've obviously mentioned the promotions you've like to obviously work for and stuff. Do you have any other goals for obviously the rest of the year?
I do. I have. I've got a few exciting things coming up later this year that I only wish I could talk about, but we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Sorry, but in terms of goals, like I said, I just want to wrestle as much as I can. I've made a goal. I'm not capping it off at this year. I do want to go over to the States, even if it's Europe. Like I just want to travel more. But in terms of the UK, like I feel like I'm ready for it now. Like I feel like I've been ready for a while, but now I know it as well. I feel like I'm ready to step onto some bigger platforms and just prove that I belong with them. Like like there's no reason why I can't do as well and as frequently as people like Leon Slater as well as Dries. Like everybody should aspire to be like that if they are wrestling in the UK because they're smashing it and they're there for a reason, and it's through hard work, it's through determination, like every part of it. And I put that in, and I just want to get there to the point where other people are seeing it as well. Like I do. Like you've got to have a level of confidence in yourself. So I feel like that's my main goal, is just be more prominent in the UK scene, as many places as I can. But obviously, there's other things I've got to look forward to as well, without dropping hints or being sly.
No, that's absolutely fine. Like I said, if you didn't feel comfortable, you just like I said, next question.
I wish I could talk about it, but it's something that I'm keeping under wraps for now, just until it happens. So.
Okay. So sorry, guys, I couldn't get anything out of him, but you know what?
Closed book. I'm closed book ever.
This has obviously been one really fun chat. So one final thing from you, Adam. Is there anything you'd like to plug, my friend?
Oh, I mean, you can't go wrong with plugging a bit of socials, can you? Let's be honest. Just Instagram is Adam Bolt Wrestler, Twitter is Adam Bolt _. Plug in, I would say, check out Wrestling Newcastle if you haven't. They've got the shows up on YouTube. I don't think the latest one is on there, but if you just search for Wrestling Newcastle on YouTube, they're on there. The next show is May the 4th. Apart from Wrestling Newcastle, I feel like obviously there's a lot coming up. There's a lot that you can find on my socials, but just because Wrestling Newcastle are new and they're proving they're doing well because they're selling out every show, check it out. Because if you do want to go, chances are you'd have to get a ticket early because they are selling out the show. So yeah,
I actually got them the day they got released because I knew exactly they were going to sell out. So
yeah, it's not a lie either. Every time they're saying, "Oh, we're sold out," I know a lot of people do that. You know, it's a marketing strategy, but no, they are legit sold out. Every time they say it, like they sell out that venue so quick, which for 5 shows in is very impressive. To be fair, so yeah.
there you go. This has been obviously an absolutely fun chat. The Magic of Wrestling, of course, is back this Saturday as we're looking at highs and lows as part of our series. Adam, this has been an absolute fun chat, my friend. Enjoy the rest of the week, and I will see you in May, literally.
Yes, you too. Thanks for having me anyway.
Cheers, guys.